I am Anthony Perry, aka the 7-Star General, and today I want to bring you another tip of the day. Today's tip of the day is about power. It's about once you receive your power, or not even once you receive it, because power won't be given to you. That's crazy about my wording. Power won't be given to you. So let's reverse that and say once you take power for yourself, once you see what you want out there, once you see that there's power, or there's just moves that you want to make that require a certain level of action taken, aka power and energy usage, then you want to make sure that you go get it for yourself. And what I've realized, and just looking at through history and looking at what's going on in our daily times, is that power is not going to be given to you. You know what I'm saying? The authority to make your own decisions, the authority to make your own moves, the wherewithal to do that for yourself is not going to be given to you. Somebody is not going to give you permission to be your best or live your best or take action on the things that you want to take action on. No one's going to grant you a fucking Charlie Chocolate Factory golden ticket to your dreams. You know what I'm saying? It's not about to fucking happen. You got to get up and you got to work for it. So it's like, that's what one way to look at it. And then it's like power. Like somebody always tells me that power doesn't concede power. Like you must take it for yourself, or you can sit there and continue to complain about why you don't have any. It's like you don't look at the person that's providing you with the direction and the order, and you looking at them like, damn, like I want to be in that position. Yeah, because that position has power. That position has power, obviously, over you and what your daily activities are. So yesterday I was reading a story, and it was about the famous general from Haiti, or back in that day, Saint Domingue, back in that time it was called, and they were basically owned by the French. And this general, Francois Toussaint Louverture, was basically an ex-slave who rose up and became a military general, which led the actual soldiers, I would call them, or actual men that were on the island at the time, to basically band together and fight for their own freedom from the French and from England and from Spain at the time, that was all fighting to go and be the authority, or be the power structure, or be the control over all the economy that was in the island at the time. So when you think about that, it's like this man was we're talking about the general. This general was a leader, to say the least. This man was a thinker. This man was a dreamer. This man had a plan. This man had a vision for himself, but not only for himself, he had a vision for the people on the island, and it was his purpose out here was much bigger than just some gold or some money or a title for himself. That shit was regular pleasures. That shit was treasures that he actually admitted to saying that didn't mean anything to him. But just to keep the story going, Francois, the General Louverture, basically, like I was saying, he rose up from slavery and became the general of the army and took over those people. But basically what I'm saying is, like, to keep the story going, is this: you can see that this man, when he rose up from slavery to become a general, he basically took power for himself. He had to literally, as people would say, tie himself up by the bootstrap, or pull himself up by the bootstraps. And it's like, that's what he had to do. He had to go get that information. He had to go learn how to become a leader. And at the age of 50, when he joined the army to take over, or joined the military to be a leader, he was already well developed and had a lot of knowledge. So, and understanding of just seeing what was going on in the world at the time. So that's why it's important to first have a vision, have a dream for yourself, and make it so big and so great that it kind of scares you, but make sure that the dream is for a purpose. And at that time, their purpose was freeing themselves from their colonizer, aka the French at the time. And the French at the time was going through that revolution where they were ruthless themselves. So it was only right that as the ship was going down, that you see black men like the general to go ahead and take power and try to take his chance at taking power for himself. Now, along with you receiving power, or like I said, you can't receive it, but along with you getting power or taking power for yourself, there's some rules that go with it. And the one rule that I want to leave on this camera today, and just to remind anybody that's listening, is that once you receive, or not receive, but once you take that power for yourself, and you know that you have authority, and you know you have power, and you know that you can make decisions based on the success of other people's lives, never give that power away. And I say never give that power away. And this is, I'll put it in multiple examples after I explain it, but never give that power away, because the person you're giving it to, they might not be just with it, and they most likely aren't going to be just with it, because they're going to be upset and think you were audacious for acting upon your will and going to try to get this position of power, and actually being in a position of power. They're going to look at that and be very, very resentful. So the fact that you might have been a person that was had integrity in your leadership, and you led with love, and you led with the thought of making sure everybody around you prospered, the person that you're giving your power up to, 9 times out of 10 isn't going to be as lenient, or isn't going to be as just as you were. So in the case of the general basically, the French came down, and all right, let's take it from this point. The general, after the general won and succeeded, they freed themselves from the French army. The general wrote up a constitution for how Haiti was going to go ahead and proceed forward as a new nation. And they sent it back to the French to let them know that, hey, this is our constitution. This is how we'll be living now. We won't be following the leadership and the laws of the French anymore. Now, the French looked at this as an act of war, because they basically seen that they had a colony that overthrew what their leadership direction was. The authority French thought they had the leadership. They thought they were controlling the people down there on the island. But what they come to realize is that those people had rose up, took power for themselves, and said that they weren't going to no longer follow the power structure of French government. So, long story short, the French came down and they brought a whole bunch of troops to try to intimidate the Haitian army and the general, but the general didn't budge. But there was a man in the general's army down in Haiti. I don't remember his name right now, but basically the story has that the French coerced him into signing a deal, or basically surrendering all his troops that was under the general to the French government, again selling his people back into slavery. Now, the way they did that is the French basically told this man that they wouldn't sell the people back into slavery. This guy would get to keep his military title and actually be promoted to a higher position, and also this guy would get the rights and the riches to anything that he wants as he goes forward. Now, this sounded like a sweet deal to this guy. All he had to do was turn on the general and the Haitians, which was couple thousand. It wasn't many, but all he had to do was turn on the constitution that they created in order to get a title and to get a higher position and to get some money. And what turns out is that, like I say, the fact that once you give your power up, the person that you give it back to or give it to probably won't be just, or most likely won't be just. The French basically said, yeah, hell with whatever we agreed to with that guy. We just came down here to get you to agree so we could capture the General Toussaint and take him back to French and hold him as a prisoner. So basically, they like I said, they got the his general's right-hand man to flip on him, which he did, and then they kidnapped the general and took him back to France and basically tortured him to his death. And it's only because the general said, once he realized that his man's flipped on him, he realized that he too had to submit to the French government and what their power structure was. Now, I say all that to say that I want everybody to remind themselves of this power rule and how important it is to remind yourself, once you take power for yourself and you realize, and it's realized power, you know exactly what you're capable of doing, you know what you have authority to do, you know what you have authority over, and you know that you don't need permission from any outside source. You must never give that back. Never, ever, ever give that back, because once you do give that back, it's downhill from there, because you no longer have the pride, you no longer have that sense of determination, you're no longer the one that's in control of the dream. You've now submitted yourself to somebody else, and that person is now going to control you, play with you, and do whatever they want to you. But remember that that person, the person that you gave that power to, aka the power structure, they will not forget what you did while you or had that moment. And they were like, man, that was very, they look at it from a sarcastic perspective, be like, the audacity of this person to think that he was great, the audacity of this person to think that he was bigger than the power structure, the audacity of this person to think that he was going to come in and tell us that we weren't going to be the rulers over him and his nation is so audacious that we must make him pay. And then we must make him pay so much that we actually put fear in anybody else that wants to come up and be a leader. That's the whole power structure's play, is to humiliate the person, or basically discredit or run the person's name so far through the mud that nobody else will try to stand up and become a leader. And that's what they did. They basically tortured the general. They took, like I said, they captured him from Haiti. They took him back on a ship, and ironically enough, the ship was called the Heroes. Yeah, you know, and he was a hero at his time, because, like I said, he was the one that was the leader and sparked the lead of the freedom of the people in Haiti, and the true one and truly only successful slave rebellions that ever existed. But like I said, they took him back on the boat, the Heroes, and then they jailed him. And for years, they literally starved him, froze him to death, kept the AC as low as they could, and basically never gave him a blanket and never allowed him to see a doctor while he was in jail. Now, the way these people were, the power structure at that time, the French government, Napoleon Bonaparte, plus a few, they were so cruel that they ruled his death as sickness, pneumonia, and that he died because he refused to ever see a doctor. But the accounts of the guards that were there at the jail at the time stated that they weren't able to give him any assistance. They barely were able to put food in there or provide him with blankets or do anything. So this was more, they didn't treat him as he was just a regular prisoner. They treated him as a person that they wanted to make an example out of and teach a lesson. They taught this man, well, they didn't teach, but they basically let this guy know that since he thought he was so hot shit, he was going to go against the power structure, what the French had in place, and the rules that they had govern over the black people down in Haiti. They decided that they was going to torture this man to death, to the point that he actually died. So me telling you that story, I just want everybody to realize that the people, or the dark cloak that has power over you right now, they don't want to see you rise up. They don't want to see you act upon your greatness. They don't want to see you work together with your fellow brother and sister to build a life that actually makes sense, that's actually prosperous, that's actually healthy, that's actually beneficial to the people that come behind you. They don't want to see that. The power structure that's in place does not want to see those people do that. They want to see you continue to scroll on your phone, eat bad foods, not work out, not communicate with your fellow person in physical form. They don't want you to connect on these phones. They don't want you to do anything that is going to put you in a position of prosperity or helping you be any better. They don't want to see it. And once you do, or once there's a person that stands up and said, hey, this is wrong, and then they show the visual to everybody that, hey, the life that they're living is a lie and that they're living is wrong, what happens eventually is that person is assassinated, because he's a threat to the power structure. And the more he wakes up the minds of the masses, the more of a threat he is to the actual power structure, because there's always power in numbers, there's always power in sound leadership, there's always power in integrity and having morals and values. People see that and they want to follow that. So never, ever, ever give up your power once you receive it. And not even that once you receive it, once you take it for yourself, once you realized it for yourself, once you stop asking for permission, never start asking for permission again. Never bend down, and make sure that whatever your dream is or whatever your purpose is that you're fighting for, will be willing to die for that cause. Don't ever sell out your cause for any money or any title or any promise that's given to you, because that person is 9 times out of 10 not going to give it to you, or that person is going to give it to you with ill intent to do something that he's already thought of 2 or 3 chess moves further down the road. So I love all of you guys. That's why I'm going to get up here and give this information out to you. I love myself. That's why I'm claiming power and I'm taking it over for myself so I can use it for good, use it for justice going forward. The 7-star general is continuing to guide me. It's my higher self. It's my council of extraordinary gentlemen that help me make decisions from a higher level whenever I do anything. So this was another tip of the day. Power doesn't concede power. You must take it or continue to complain about why you don't have it. And then another thing, the last thing I want to leave you with is, remember to be audacious about acting upon your greatness, because on your side it's good to have audacity, and it's good to know that, hey, I have the right to be powerful. But then just remember that there's people that are in position already of power that look at you trying to take power for yourself and be like, the audacity of this nigga here, or the audacity of this person here. So just always remember that when you're out here chasing greatness, you know what I'm saying? Because it's definitely people that's going to love it, and there's people that's going to hate it. But regardless of if they love it or hate it, die for it. That's your cause, that's your dream, that's your challenge, that's your purpose. Die for it. Don't give it back. Don't let up. Be relentless. Be ruthless. And go out and conquer and succeed. The world is yours. I'm out.